Hitler shot himself in a bunker in 1945 to avoid capture during World War II. Or maybe he didn't. What if the Nazi dictator escaped? Where did he go? Follow me down the rabbit hole to find out. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the rabbit hole. I'm your host, Dani, and today we are talking about Hitler and if he's alive, if he's dead. I think by now he would be dead, but if he escaped his treacherous fate in 1945, or if he went on to live till he was in his nice old age and died of whatever complications in his sleep. That would be not enough justice in my mind, but here we are. I want to start by thanking Abby for suggesting this episode. She's one of my sister's friends. She recently started following me, and this was her suggestion because she loves this conspiracy. So here we are. I'm doing the whole thing for you. Here you go, Abby. Thank you for the suggestion. I love your guys' suggestions. Please send them in so I can cover what you love. Instead, I'll just keep covering random things until I eventually hit your favorite conspiracy theory. But Abby, Rachel, Sam, Paige, plenty of people have sent me their suggestions, so I do them. I want to cover them for you. We're going to start with who is Adolf Hitler. There is a conspiracy out there. I want to start with this, that World War II or the Holocaust never actually happened, and I will not be covering that conspiracy theory. I have a really hard time with it. I feel like maybe I'll just look into it. Maybe I'll do a bonus episode. I'm seriously considering a Patreon, a fan club option for you guys. So maybe I'll do that as a bonus, but I don't want to do that as a full just out there episode for everybody, because it's pretty out there even for me, and I do some crazy conspiracies, but that's a little rough. So if you didn't know, Hitler was the leader of the Nazis during World War II. Basically, the whole reason there was a World War II was because of Hitler. He was born on April 20th, 1889 in Austria. He became the Chancellor of Germany in January of 1933, and the Führer, I know I'm saying this wrong. I'm not German. Last week I did Russia. This week I'm doing German. I'm sorry, guys. He basically the leader of Germany. When the president of Germany had died in August 1934. And he held basically dual titles from that point forward until 1945, when he handed over the chancellorship to one of his guys, right before he died. Or supposedly died. Hitler believed that Marxism was the enemy, but further than that, he believed that the Jewish population was the embodiment of evil. So he led the largest genocide of one race in the shortest amount of time, killing 6 million Jews. And during the Holocaust, 5 million other prisoners of war were also killed, totaling 11 million people murdered at the order of Hitler. These other people included homosexuals, people that just did bad things that they didn't like just all kinds of people, black people. They were very aggressive. They're yeah, let's round up all the Jews and then all these other people too. So, I mean, honestly, 11 million people, that's a lot of people. On April 30th, 1945, the Allied forces closing in, Hitler locked himself in a bunker with his wife. They got married very shortly before this. Eva Braun is her name. And that's where he shot himself, and then she took poison, supposedly. Their bodies were burned in accordance with the instructions that they left. Or were they? So here's the Great Escape. According to declassified, heavily redacted FBI files, instead of hiding in a bunker and killing themselves, Adolf Hitler and his wife, Eva Braun, escaped to Argentina via submarine. So they landed on the shores of Argentina, and they were met by 6 Argentinian officials who hid them in the Andes Mountains. I think I'm saying that right, Andes. This report was dated the 21st of September 1945. The report couldn't be verified because something important couldn't be located. We don't know what that something important is because that part was actually heavily redacted, right? So it just basically, something wasn't located, so they can't verify this report. Obviously, the FBI looked into all of this because they're FBI files. An individual named Jack, which I'm assuming is a pseudonym, came forward to tell his story of what happened, and he just wanted one thing in return: don't send me back to Argentina. He didn't like what was happening there. There was a coup or something, and he was like, no way, I'm not going back to Argentina. However, he did claim that he was one of 4 men who met Hitler and Braun on the shores of Argentina when they got there. So basically 6 Argentinian officials and then 4 other men were there to meet this group of people. He claimed that Hitler came ashore with about 50 other people, and they went into hiding in the towns of San Antonio. I'm going to mess these names up, guys. I'm so sorry. I want to say Vidima, Nequin, Muster, Carmina, and Racine. They stayed with German families as they traveled from town to town. I would like to point out that at this point it's almost poetic because of how many Jews hid from the Nazis in other people's houses, other people that were friends to the Jews. They had to hide in houses and hide from the officials, and now poetically Hitler is hiding in German houses, obviously, and going from town to town trying not to be caught because he faced war crimes for what he did in World War II. Jack claimed to remember all the 6 officials and the other 3 men that were with him that night. He says that Hitler was suffering from ulcers and asthma the night that he arrived because of the long journey and being in a submarine for so long. Although Hitler did shave his mustache to reveal a butt on his upper lip. I guess it looked like a butt. That was a little, I don't know, maybe a jab at Hitler, fuck you, you have a butt face. Anyway, he shaved his mustache because it's such a signature look for him and everybody knows Hitler with the mustache. Maybe it would be that hard to recognize him without. I don't know, but I've seen those videos online where dads have, big beards and they shave them and the kids don't even recognize them. And that's their father. So I'm sure that shaving off his little mustache probably caused him to look a bit different. The informant told the FBI exactly where Hitler could be found, and he was living in a bunker, and he lived with 2 body doubles, basically, so he didn't get caught. And he gave mileage away from certain towns. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. You can go look it up in my sources. I decided not to include that because it's not exactly where you find him. It's just about where you would find him. And he had a bank account under a Mrs. Ecorn. This lady ran a large spa hotel in La Falda in Argentina. And she had actually visited Nazi Germany on many occasions, and Hitler put what is equivalent to $2 million in the account that she was running. So it's safe to say that he had friends in Argentina, basically. She had her name on this Argentinian account. He put all this money into it, knowing that he would probably, have to run away. And when he got to Argentina, he had a bunch of money.
Did you know that over 40% of Americans have a hard time swallowing pills? So when it's time to take your vitamins, large capsules and pills are out of the question. We know that gummy vitamins exist, but they're full of sugar, they get stuck in your teeth, and they only contain a fraction of the nutrients you need. Luckily, Easy Melts has discovered the ultimate vitamin sweet spot. Vitamins that melt in your mouth, taste like a treat, and are packed with nutrients ready for absorption, all without an ounce of sugar. For a limited time, Easy Melts is giving listeners a free 3-month supply of vitamin D3 with their first purchase. To claim your free D3 vitamins, visit try.easymelts.com/spring24. That's try.melts.com/spring24. Say goodbye to the old way of taking your vitamins and say hello to the easy way. Menopausal and perimenopausal women, listen up. It's time to take control of your health and comfort, and Winona is here to help. Winona is a telemedicine company for menopause care who believes that your symptoms are real, important, and deserve to be taken seriously. And for many women, this starts with hormone replacement therapy. Winona's HRT is made with plant-based, bioidentical hormones rather than synthetic ones, so it better aligns with your body to offer relief from hot flashes, weight gain, and other uncomfortable symptoms. 80% of women who use Winona find relief within just 90 days. So, what are you waiting for? Get started today. Visit buywinona.com today to start your free visit. With free shipping and the ability to pause or cancel at any time, your path to wellness has zero obligations. Use code SPRING24 at buywinona.com for 25% off your first treatment plan. That's BYWINONA.com for 25% off. Winona, menopause care made easy.
Well, she had visited Nazi Germany. And actually, a lot of famous Argentinians had visited Germany in the 1940s. So a lot of people from Argentina, a lot of officials, famous people had visited Germany, where they were given basically like the red carpet rolled out for them by Hitler and his people and the Nazis in the 1940s. And Argentina wasn't really part of World War II, but maybe they were. Like maybe they were like, like a behind the scenes undercover part of World War II, because they obviously housed Hitler after he was dead, apparently. And the FBI did look into these events. The FBI, according to this one article I found, felt this informant and information was credible. However, they didn't have enough information to follow up on an investigation. And it's really hard. I know right now, Argentina, like today's society, Argentina doesn't extradite to America. Not to say that they don't extradite to other countries, but they are non-extradition country to America. So if you are laundering money and you need a place to go, Argentina's your place. I'm going to get flagged. Somebody is going to flag me and the FBI is going to come hunt me down, man. Anyway, don't launder money. It's bad. I looked into this. I was trying to figure out, does Argentina extradite to other countries? Does they just don't extradite here? Do they extradite in the 1950s, the 1940s? Like, if we have all this information in the 1940s that Hitler is being housed in Argentina, can we extradite him not only to the US, but like back to Germany or any European country, back to Europe, basically to answer for his crimes? When I looked this up, I found an interesting piece of information. According to this article that I found from the Los Angeles Times in April of 1998, so fairly recently, Croatia was attempting to extradite a concentration camp commander from Argentina. His name was Dinko Sakic, and he was a commander of the Jasenovac concentration camp, and this camp was basically referred to as the Auschwitz of the Balkans. Sakic was interviewed on an Argentinian television show where he claimed his innocence. He was 76 at the time, and the president of Argentina immediately called for his arrest. They were like, what the heck? Like, we've been housing this guy this whole time? So during his interview, Sakic claimed that he was only the leader of the camp for 100 days, and during that time, none of his basically employees, so none of the officers, the officials, the guards, nobody was allowed to touch any prisoners, Jewish or otherwise. This is what he claimed on this Argentinian television show. So Croatia stepped in and said they would start the extradition paperwork on their end as the judges worked on Argentina's end of things. So I'm not sure still. Okay, guys, I know you can't see what I'm doing behind the scenes, but I made a huge mistake. Argentina does extradite to the US. I just Googled it. When I Googled it earlier, or like for my research, I was specifically Googling or like researching for if they extradited in the 40s, if Argentina would extradite, not if they currently extradite. And I heard from I thought a good source that Argentina doesn't extradite, and they do. So please forgive me. I corrected myself. Anyway, don't go to Argentina if you're laundering money, because they will extradite you back to the US. Anyway, they do extradite 2 places. So it makes sense that Croatia's like, hey, give me this, Nazi commander. And Argentina, the president for sure, and his minions were like, yeah, we don't want this guy in our country anymore. So here is a quote straight out of this article that I found. It says, quote, is a quote of a quote. So just kind of go with that. I am very concerned. It would be a disaster if he escapes. Victor Ramos, head of the Internal Ministries Institute Against Discrimination, Xenophobia, and Racism, said in an interview. I believe the justice system is moving too slowly. I asked the courts to have him arrested immediately. We are not talking about a highway robber. We are talking about the chief of a concentration camp, a real butcher. Unquote. So this was the first time Argentina knew about the presence of the Nazis in their country, and maybe the first time non-corrupt Argentinians were finally made aware. So obviously corrupt Argentinians up to this point, like people that were housing these Nazis, were aware of what was happening. There's at least 6 officials that met Hitler on the beaches. However, maybe, the other officials just didn't know, and they were just sneaking them into the country. However, due to red tape, of course, there's always red tape, they couldn't arrest Sakic right away, but they did keep an eye on him, and in June of 1998, he was extradited back to Croatia. And that is where he was put on trial. But he wasn't put on trial until October, and he was, of course, found guilty of war crimes and sentenced to 20 years in jail. During his 20-year jail sentence, he actually died at the age of 86. He died in a hospital close to the jail. He was still a prisoner, but on July 20th, 2008, Dinko Sakic died. Here's my thoughts. Here's just what I'm thinking here with this thing. I think that Hitler had to have died, and then Sakic, who was obviously like guilt-ridden, was like, I want to come forward to clear my conscience, right? I think that Hitler would have never allowed Sakic to come forward while he was there. I think they must have escaped together. He must have been one of the 50 people that Hitler brought with him. But I don't think Hitler would ever allow any of his guys to talk or to come forward, especially like such a public television interview that the whole country was going to see, and then eventually the whole world was going to see, because this is a very public event. And yes, it's 50 plus years later. However, you killed or aided in the killing of 11 million people because Hitler decided, I don't like them, and we're just going to kill them. And you were like, yeah, I mean, Hitler's right. So at what point does mob mentality give up and you look around and you're like, we should not kill all these Jews. We should not kill all these people. We should let them live. Like, at what point do you look at your life and be like, this is wrong? And I know in his interview, he was trying to be like, I thought it was wrong the whole time. But if you really thought it was wrong the whole time, Hitler would have never put you in charge of a concentration camp. Never. Especially one as big as this one was. It wasn't Auschwitz, I understand that, but it was called the Auschwitz of the Balkans. Like, it was, to me, that sounds like second, third, maybe biggest concentration camp. So my thoughts is that up until this point, Hitler was probably alive. Hitler probably died sometime around 1998. And that's when Sakic was like, this is my opportunity to come clean. I'm an old man now. There's no way. He probably thought there's no way like they're going to arrest me, which that was just dumb on his part. But that's my thoughts. I think that Hitler probably escaped with these guys because now we have proof, like actual proof, that at least one concentration camp commander was in Argentina, which if there was no water in this conspiracy theory bucket, then why did any Nazis go to Argentina? It just seems very odd to me that one would be in Argentina and nobody else would. Like, and then the thought process is that maybe Hitler was there. Well, there just seems to be, if there's FBI files, that some informant came forward and the FBI actually investigated. Of course, the FBI has to, although I'm actually surprised it wasn't the CIA that investigated it, but that's a whole nother topic because the CIA deals with like external and the FBI deals with like internal. Anyway, not the point. The point is that there's federal documentation that an informant came forward and was like, this is a thing. This is what's going on. And the FBI investigated it, took it very seriously. And then we actually did find a Nazi in Argentina, and he was committed for war crimes. So the thought that Hitler maybe didn't escape there, and then also, why did Sakic wait so long? Was he sick? Is that why he came forward? Like, it wasn't his deathbed. He wasn't dying, because he didn't die for another 10 years. So anyway, these are my thoughts. You tell me what you think. I love, obviously, to hear from you all. As always, if you share my show on your social medias, I will send you a t-shirt. If you rate and review, send me a notification, send me a screenshot, so that way I can send you a sticker. I want to send you guys these gifts, so please let me do that. Let me thank you. Yeah, I think that's all. Until next time, my friends, stay skeptical, and I will see you all next week. The Rabbit Hole is an independent podcast with everything you hear done by me, Dani Mercy. We thrive on listeners like you. If you like what you're hearing, please leave us a rating or review wherever you are listening. Follow us on Instagram at rabbit.holepodcast. Special thank you to Zakar Valaha Music for our intro.